In this last slide here, I wanted to share a bit more, as Jim noted, all of our, this whole deliberation on America in One Room, Climate and Energy was used using the Stanford Online Deliberation Platform. It is an automated platform in the sense that there were no human moderators in the small groups. So for the close to 1,000 people that were participating in September in this event, they were broken up into small groups, over 100 small groups, randomly assigned. And the platform has been designed based on deliberative polling methods of moderation, which means there's a speaking queue, just as you would raise your hand in a small group discussion, the platform has a queue for people to speak. People can only speak for a certain amount of time, so people can't take over like us in this webinar. There's a timed agenda, as normal moderators would do, in each part sectioning off how much time and can be used for discussion. We have AI software that tracks offensive language. We have features that nudges people to talk if they haven't already, or having different ways, innovative ways of nudging individuals, because everything's done online and we can actually nudge individuals rather than stopping a conversation and making anyone feel uncomfortable to contribute in the discussion. And allowing for a very robust discussion with pros and cons in the agenda, allowing for people to share whether enough pros and cons have been discussed in the small groups itself. And it allows for a question development phase where questions are developed as a group, and they rank questions to see which questions they want to pose in a plenary session to experts and policymakers. So the platform itself looks and feel actually very close to Zoom and Google Meet or other types of conference meeting services that are web-based these days. But the back end of it really provides all the unique aspects that our team has been really working with. As Jim noted, we have real-time analytics, real-time transcription, and we're able to dive very deeply to understand what participants are saying, at what point, what arguments they're making. So not only do we have all of this rich survey data about how people are feeling towards certain policy options, but we can tell people why and what the reasons are behind those opinions. And before we turn it over, just to share on our platform, not only have we done the event in September nationally in the US, but throughout the last couple of years, we've done events nationally in Chile, in Canada, here on the Stanford campus with faculty and students, and also with young people nationally as well with the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. So it's been a very fruitful platform, and we hope that we can share more of it with all of you here today at some point. And now I will turn it back to Jim Fishkin.
Oh, well, I think I should turn it back. Thank you, Alice. And we should say that the online platform is a collaboration with Ashish Goel from Management Science and Engineering and his crowdsourced democracy team. And it's their technology that has allowed us to do this. So I just wanted to recognize that. But I think Chris is the moderator at this point.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jim and Alice and Larry. We'll spend just a couple minutes on questions from the audience before switching over to talking with a little of the science behind these issues. And let me start with a question from Rich Rippin. Says, could you talk a little bit more about how participants were selected to take part, or point to online information that goes into more detail on that?
Well, look, the NORC, the University of Chicago, is one of the premier public opinion outfits in the world. And they maintain a continuous probability-based national panel. And they sampled from that national panel of about 25,000 to produce our representative sample of participants and a separate control group. And so they did the recruiting. They compensated the participants for their time. They actually had a concierge process where each participant had a concierge to make sure that any problems that they faced, whether any hardships that they faced, any internet connectivity problems they faced, did they need childcare, did they need any assistance at all? So the people they selected in the stratified random sample from the panel were the ones who participated. We had a very high rate of participation, and they matched up to the control group. And as I say, the control group changed hardly at all, because just seeing things on TV, no matter what the disasters, doesn't seem to affect opinion in the way that discussion does.
Great, thank you. There were a bunch of questions that really asked for your opinions, but I do want to ask a couple of those. This one is from Linda Solomon. The question is, how can these results be achieved at scale outside the research environment? Any recommendations about process, protocol, messengers, organizations?
Well, that's why we developed the automated moderator. It was originally developed to bring deliberation to scale. And Alice had the insight that, well, we could put it inside the deliberative poll and test and develop it. And she's done that in the various places around the world. But we intend to bring the same deliberations to scale when we do, or to larger scale, each time when we have a national deliberation. We have the briefing materials that can be used for lots of other people. And Alice is leading a coalition with the Haas Center that has, in principle, 14 universities so far. And we think we're going to have universities across the country. We're going to have civic groups. We're going to start recruiting in other ways, maybe with a social media partner. See, we know a lot about the people who participate when they participate, and we may well ask them for references to other people. So we'd like to grow the deliberations organically to make this a more evident part of American life. Because when people deliberate, they become more mutually respectful. They become more informed. They become more public spirited. So we think there are benefits to the larger population. But the deliberative poll, distinguished from the deliberative scaling, they're two different things. The deliberative poll, we need a good sample. The deliberative scaling, we want to spread the experience.
That's great. Let me ask one more question of this group, and then we'll turn to the scientists for some interpretation. So there are many questions along the theme of this one from Michael Weinberg. What do you think accounts for the massive changes in attitudes among Republicans? Are they simply sheltered from good information here, given their political and social networks, or something else?
Well, if you're in your filter bubble and you get information you disagree with, it can backfire. But if you can be in a discussion, a mutually civil discussion, people open up to the other side. And we found this also with a face-to-face America in one room, which had opinion changes on the immigration issue, which is also a hot issue, that was up to about 40 points among Republicans, but also up to about 40 points among Democrats on the most expensive redistributive proposals. So it's not just Republicans who change, it's people who haven't heard the other side of the argument who change. But they can't just hear it, they have to engage in a discussion about it. And they learn to take up the perspective of other people in the discussion. And that's sort of the magic of deliberation, which I'm so delighted that I blundered into some decades ago. And we've been working on it since. And I have now the greatest group of collaborators I've ever had.